Welcome to the frigid shores of Lake Ontario, where it's been between -10 and -15 degrees Celsius all week. And that's perfect weather for a vehicle like this. This is the 2018 Toyota RAV4. And you see these things all over the place, and that's for a couple of reasons. For starters, it's the best-selling compact crossover vehicle in Canada. And second of all, if you open up a magazine or turn to YouTube, this one is always finishing near the top of comparison videos. And I think that's because people are really attracted to its sensible mix of practicality, reliability, standard features, and that Toyota badge on the front, which means it's dependable. Well, what do you think of the styling? It was refreshed in 2016, a big improvement in my mind, a sleeker, more angular side profile, new front bumper, rear bumper, and new headlights and taillights that really kind of redefine the way this RAV4 looks. I'm still not a huge fan. This has the Trail package on it, which comes with these nice 18-inch wheels and this silly sort of decal package. I could leave that. Overall, it's okay, I guess, a bit kind of middle of the road. Now, the interior, much the same, suffers again from middle of the road syndrome, some good, some not so great. Let's get in and take a closer look. The interior of this RAV4 is all about taking the good with the bad, and I'm going to start with the design, which I'm not a huge fan of. It is a little bit last generation in that there's clusters of buttons everywhere, and there's a mix of sort of circular and straight surfaces. I find it just a little bit confusing, especially with all these open cubbies down here. I feel like they could have streamlined this and made it a little more simplistic looking. The big offender for me from a design perspective is this shift lever. It's gated and it's open. I'm not a fan of that look. It's a little bit old school. Nowadays, most manufacturers are covering that up, which makes it, in my opinion, look a little bit more sophisticated. Now here's an issue for me. On the LE and XLE trims, you get this 6.1-inch infotainment screen. Now Bluetooth connectivity is included, so you can do things like stream audio, receive calls, make calls. It'll actually read aloud to you your text messages as you're driving down the road, but there's no navigation built into that, and Toyota does not offer Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So there's no way to get navigation on this car until you spend well into the mid $30,000 range. In 2018, that's an omission. That's a problem for me. Ergonomically, excellent. Everything's where you expect it to be. Everything works. Everything's tactile and nice. The seating position is great. The steering wheel fits into your hand well. Very comfortable, great visibility out of this cabin. But again, you look across the dashboard, you see all these hard plastic materials that aren't very nice. You notice some fit and finish issues. There is an air vent here on the dashboard, and there's a bit of a sway in it. And if you look to your left and to your right, there's some speaker grille covers, which look noticeably cheap, don't quite line up properly. And when you touch them, yeah, there's a little bit of give there. It's not that nice looking. So the interior of this RAV4, you got to take the good with the bad. Ergonomically, it works, but design-wise and use of materials, fit and finish, leaves something to be desired. So this RAV4 is powered by a 2.5-liter inline 4-cylinder engine. No turbo. This is a naturally aspirated engine, which in this day and age is increasingly a rarity. In fact, I feel like I haven't driven a naturally aspirated engine in months now, which tells you where the industry has gone. Now, this is mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. Definitely not the most sophisticated out there, but I will caution you, it's more about quality than it is quantity, and I think they've produced a good unit here. It's tried and true. Really, no issue with it at all. It sorts itself out quite well. You forget it's there, which is the sign of a good transmission. There is one issue, however, I've found on the highway if I'm using radar-guided cruise control. It'll kind of bump itself down a couple of gears into 4th rather than 6th for no reason. So I won't be going up a hill. I'm not trying to overtake. I'm holding a steady speed, and suddenly I find myself in 4th gear, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The suspension in this RAV4 is pretty soft, which lends itself to a kind of lazy driving character. So kind of heavy turn in, a bit of body roll to it, which is certainly not unusual in this segment of vehicle. Having said that, I get a bit of chop through the suspension. I think it might have something to do with these big 18-inch wheels that I'm riding on. That's an optional feature as part of the Trail pack. I'm also getting just a little bit of heave in the suspension. It feels in some ways more similar to the Ford F-150 that I just recently got out of than it does other car-based crossover vehicles. So not a huge problem for me. Otherwise, pretty quiet on the road, not a whole lot of wind noise. But I would say about middle of the pack, probably okay for most people looking to get into a car like this. Now, one area where the RAV4 could certainly benefit from downsizing displacement and adding a turbo and a couple of extra gears in this transmission would be fuel economy. Now, they say this will average 8 liters per 100K on the highway. Well, I haven't gotten anywhere close to that. I've been sort of low to mid 9 range. And in the city, they say 10 liters per 100K. That is absolutely false. I've averaged just over 13 now. Those numbers aren't actually that bad. They're about average for this segment. However, if you're someone who's motivated by fuel economy, make sure to take a look at real-world tests and not just what Toyota puts on the sales sheet. There's plenty of legroom in the back, and I was quite comfortable even in full winter gear. The rear seats fold almost entirely flat, revealing a very large square and easy-to-load cargo area. Included with the XLE trim is a powered tailgate, and a foot-operated hands-free unit is available on upper trim levels. Once open, it reveals 1,087 liters of cargo capacity behind the rear seats. That's enough to put it ahead of the Ford Escape, but just behind the category-leading Honda CR-V. Well, there are many ways to spec out your RAV4, but I'll start by saying this. All of them include a backup camera, all of them include heated seats, and all of them include Toyota Safety Sense system, which is a suite of safety features, including things like radar-guided cruise control and pre-collision warning. So some nice features there, no matter how much money you decide to hand over to Toyota. The LE and the XLE are the base and mid-trim levels on this RAV4, and both of them come standard with front-wheel drive. However, you can option them with all-wheel drive for an additional $2,000, and I think that's money well spent. Now, what do you get when you spend into that mid $30,000 range? Well, the SE and the limited trim lines, $36,000 and $38,000 respectively, include all-wheel drive and a ton of quite luxurious features on the inside. So things like auto-dimming mirrors, leather seating surface, a much better sound system, and so on. But that's no longer a cheap vehicle, is it? So what would I go for? Well, you're looking at it right now. This is the XLE trim, the mid-tier trim. Standard for me is the all-wheel drive option for an additional $2,000. Now, this has the Trail package, which is mostly a trim package. You get 18-inch wheels that are black on the outside. You get some cladding along the outside. You get some trim bits on the inside. Overall, it's just a little bit more outdoorsy. And for that complete package, you're looking at just over $37,000. That includes PDI and a few other charges, but excludes HST. This 2018 Toyota RAV4 really is the definition of sensible vehicle. If you're in the market for a compact crossover, it's hard to fault this car. There are a couple of low points, things that I'm not thrilled about. For one, the ride was a little bit choppier than anticipated. The interior, not a big fan of the overall design or fit and finish, but some of that is going to be subjective. And of course, my big complaint about the interior is no Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto, and you've got to spend up almost to the mid $30,000 range to get that integrated Toyota navigation system. Now, the big issue for me with the RAV4 is it's good at a lot of things and not particularly great at anything. It's just not a very exciting vehicle if you're an automotive enthusiast. But again, they've sold more than 50,000 of these this year. So obviously Toyota knows exactly the market that they're going for. For Motormouth Canada, my name is Mike Gurr. Thanks for watching.